Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics, and welcome to episode 214 of the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker, the show that actually gets it right and reveals the truth instead of just being honest with lazy opinions. I'm Taylor Phillips, live from my basement apartment office in the northern outskirts of McBain, Michigan, and with me on Facebook Messenger from audio from the state of Georgia, as always, is my co-host Ed Smith. Thanks so much for being on here with me. How are you?
Doing fine, Taylor. I wish I could have been up here earlier, but as you could say, life duty does call in some instances. But beyond that, past that, so I'm here now, just ready to make the most of it and have a great show for us tonight.
All right. First off, we're going to cover a lot of Tigers news, and we're going to get to a little Lions update and a bit of Red Wings and Michigan Wolverines sports as well. First off, let's start with the Detroit Tigers.
That one is long gone.
Well, the Tigers won 4 out of the last 9 since 3 out of the last 8, actually. After Monday's win, we were on our last episode, but overall they've won 4 out of the last 9. They took 2 of 3 from the Philadelphia Phillies, the first 2, 5-4 and 3-1, and then Anibal Sanchez blew up, causing the Tigers to lose 8-5. Then they lost 2 of 3 to the Athletics in Oakland. They won the first game 4-1, led by Michael Fulmer, and then they got crushed 12-3. with Matt Boyd giving up only 3 runs and getting a no decision. And then the 4-2 loss on Sunday, fueled by Ian Kinsler's stupid error in the bottom of the 6th when the Tigers had a 2-0 lead. That was a sure third out of the inning, and Kinsler just flat out choked it. And then they went into Anaheim and lost the first 2, 5-1 and 11-9. The second loss, they were down 9-2. They came back late to tie it up at 9 on J.D. Martinez's 2-run homer and Ian Kinsler's first career grand slam. Justin Wilson pitched a 1-2-3 8th inning, but Brad Ausmus, of all people, well, we know how dumb of a manager Brad Ausmus is. He put in Mark Lowe. And Mark Lowe didn't even get an out, didn't even record an out in the bottom of the 9th inning. Pujols walked, and C.J. Cron hit a walk-off 2-run homer to win it for the Angels, 11-9 walk-off style in the bottom of the 9th inning. But then the Tigers fought back with Michael Fulmer on the mound. He almost threw a no-hitter, but in the 8th inning, in the 7th inning, he got his no-hitter bid broken up. And then he couldn't quite finish the 8th inning, allowing the last 2 batters on base. And then Francisco Rodriguez came on the mound and got the Tigers out of that jam without allowing a run, and then he allowed a leadoff base runner, and then he got the next 2. He got the next 3 batters out to end the game to finish off the 3-0 win. And avoid the sweep. The Tigers, granted, the Tigers have had a lot of trouble in Anaheim at Angel Stadium, but they got the 3-0 win. Michael Fulmer has been a stud thus far, but since
I was going to say, it's definitely true about Michael Fulmer. He's definitely picked up the slack where, I guess you could say, one or more of the Tigers' rotation has clearly have not delivered so far up to this point. Definitely looking at Juan Sanchez. We'll definitely get to that in a little bit. But he's held his own. He's currently leading us to a 5-1 start to the season. Having very good control of his pitches. At one point he was in the midst of him almost getting a no-hit bid. He was at 80 pitch count of just about 80 pitches. So he made sure that he wasn't having so many long at bats with players. Wasn't having batters foul off pitch after pitch. It was either he was going to get him with a strikeout or get a quick ground out or whatsoever. Like I said, gave him that hit, which was in the 7th inning, but still, very good job. Still had 8 strikeouts. In this game, had the same number in his WHIP as he has the past 7 days, which is .52, which goes along with his average of 7 2/3 innings, which is or at least 7 1/3, which he went tonight. And in that's bad. He's only given up 3 hits. I think with Tony Paul Pose's stat, which in his last 2 outings, which consists of 15 1/3 innings, not a single run allowed, only 5 hits, 3 walks, and 11 strikeouts, with an average of .52 WHIP in each start. Simply incredible. And he's only young. He's only 23 years old, which means there's still even more room for him to grow and get better, believe it or not. So he's definitely working himself way into a potential long-term spot in the starting rotation.
Yeah, Mike Fulmer, just 1 earned run in his last three starts. He has progressed. Don't get me wrong. He's had a bit of a little bit of a rough start in the majors, but his last 3 starts he's been solid. 16 flat innings pitch of scoring. He has pitched 16 flat innings of scoreless baseball. He almost threw a no-hitter in Anaheim, just had it broken up, but he improves to 5-1. That's how wins are earned. You pitch solidly, and you come up with a very good record.
It also helps that you don't have that many people have that many base runners on the paths to make it your inning as long as possible. So, like I said, in the rare case that he did, he shouldered right on through it, continued to keep getting men out, and did his job. Didn't let that become that one hit into a run, and let that run balloon into another and another. Which I think Sanchez unfortunately didn't do quite as good a job of doing. But Fulmer has proven his worth so far, and you hope to only see more of the best from him at this point. Since we've last spoken, like I said, they've been a little bit of an up and down, so to speak. Like you mentioned, they've now, including tonight's game, they've lost 4. They've won 2 out of their last 6. But they're still within relative striking distance of the AL Central Division. Yes, they still remain steadfast in 3rd place, but the margin of it's not so much the deficit is not as large as it would have been earlier in the season, when some people were proclaiming, this season's a lost cause. I've always said it. Baseball is a marathon, not a sprint. 162 games. You got to go through stretches 1 game at a time. And at this point now, we are now officially in the month of June. The Tigers are a mere 5 games out of an AL Central Division, despite becoming a bit of a logjam near the top. Cleveland still within striking distance in 2.5 games. You're seeing the Chicago White Sox, how much of a benefit they're having with their offseason signing addition of Todd Frazier coming over from Cincinnati. How much of a value he's proven to be. He's one reason they're only 2 games out. And of course, you got the defending division and defending World Series champion Kansas City Royals at the top. Now, aside from everyone else, the Royals have been the hottest team as of late. They've won 6 in a row, so that's one reason why they're gaining ground or have continued to gain ground and remain ahead of everyone else. But like I said, the Tigers, don't count them out too. They have offensive players that are heating up and doing just about the right things. I expect Cameron Maybin will have a bit of a coming back down there, but when his hot streak cools off, but still, it's nice to see what he can be, what his potential was when he was younger. So he's showing glimpses of that in spurts here as of late. Miguel Cabrera is still Miguel Cabrera, in my view, the best hitter in the world on this planet today. So he's going to get his job done. Like when you add in J.D. Martinez and the reemergence of sorts of Victor Martinez, you can understand why this team has been winning, starting to get their head together and winning games as much as possible because they're hitting people. They're getting hits, getting timely hits. It's not just home runs and stuff. They're getting timely hits from other key guys and players, like the Ian Kinsler Grand Slam the other night. That's a prime example. And what really is the problem is their pitching. They just need better output from their starting pitching. So far, it seems to be the good indication that a certain majority know what they're going to bring to the table with Zimmerman, Verlander, and now Fulmer. It's just more so getting over bad luck, so to speak, with Michael Pelfrey, who again is now winless now in his last 17 starts, and trying to figure out what in the world to do about Anibal Sanchez.
Yeah, because the latest bad luck was due to Ian Kinsler's muffed up ground ball that Ian Kinsler really should have had. That was bad luck for Pelfrey, but stupidity on Kinsler's part. Just can't happen. But Pelfrey is still winless. He lastly took his 5th loss of the season. He's now 0-5 to make matters worse. And that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not all his fault. Like I said, part of it's bad luck. Like for example, the ridiculous error that Kinsler made. That Pelfrey is winless. It comes down to the bad luck for that. Due in large part, like you said, one reason. An example of bad luck was the error by Kinsler. But other than that, it is what it is. I still think Pelfrey will find his way to make him get over this molehill, of an obstacle so far. I wish I could have the same confidence with Anibal Sanchez. I'm guessing, listen, this is before we found out today that he was going to be taken out of the rotation. I mentioned this in a tweet that I tagged you and Jeff Moss, and he's got about an $80 million contract that you're going to have to, that's going to require that you pay him at least, 15 to 17 mil a year for the remainder of this deal. But the way that it's costing you games now, the way he's performing, he has starter quality pitches, but he's not showing the capability to give you starter quality innings. So I say reduce that as much as possible, put him in the bullpen. If he's got to work 8 inning or 2, I'd rather do that than try to work 3 or 4 or 5, and without him getting lidden up by the order. So give him 1 or 2 innings. Give him that type of role. I think that would ease that pressure off of him, and in turn give him better confidence to perform better, instead of hoping he'll give you a good stretch of 3 or 4 or 5 or maybe, God forbid, 6 good innings. Leave it at 1 or 2. I think that probability chances of that goes up.
Mike Pelfrey looking to pitch against the White Sox in the weekend series at home at Comerica Park against the Chicago White Sox at some point. Jordan Zimmerman, speaking of the White Sox series, is supposed to it is actually penciled in to start the beginner of that 3-game series. He threw in the bullpen and felt zero pain. He says he's good to go. He suffered a groin strain previously 2 Sundays ago against the Tampa Bay Rays, in which the Tigers won 9-4. Zimmerman ended his day 5 2/3 innings, just two earned runs given up. He did a good job, not quite great, or maybe in between good and great, but his groin strain cut his outing shorter than expected. But Jordan Zimmerman feels 100%. I think he might do well against those Southsiders.
Yeah, I mean Zimmerman, he's been in the game long enough where he should know whether or not his body will be okay, and if he feels that he's ready to go, more power to him. And in fact, I think it's very fortunate that The worst that so far that appears to have happened is he only missed one game. So usually when you hear an injury involving the groin, that's going to sideline you for at least a little while, at least 2 or so weeks. So the fact that he only missed one start, I think it's a bit of unfortunate news for him and for Tiger fans, without a doubt.
Looking at the Tigers schedule real quick. Got to.
Well, I think for one instance, I think they'll be glad they'll be finally leaving the West Coast zone, get back to the Eastern time zone, their own comfortable time zone. Starting off with a bit of a 7-game homestand. Like you mentioned, the makeup game against the Yankees, followed by 3 against the White Sox and 3 against the Blue Jays. Those 3 White Sox games are going to be crucial, first and foremost, because they're inter-divisional games, which will give you a chance to, at the very least, catch up on the team that's ahead of you in the standings. So if the Tigers were to say take 2 out of the next 2 out of 3 games in this series, it will help them out in the long term in terms of trying to bypass either Chicago or Cleveland in one of those spots in the AL Central Division.
Tigers are 5 games back in the AL Central in first place. Right now, it is the defending world champion Kansas City Royals in the lead in the American League Central. 2 games ahead of the Chicago White Sox. 2.5 against 2.5 over the Indians. In the makeup game, Matt Boyd is supposed to start against Luis Pineda, and I think Matt Boyd is going to have another good outing, not quite great. Again, 3 earned runs in 6 innings in Oakland on Saturday before the bullpen absolutely imploded in front of Matt Boyd, who got the no decision in a tie game when it was tied 3-3 before the Athletics exploded for 9 more runs to close out the scoring. But Matt Boyd is going to get. Yep, Matt Boyd's going to get a shot against the coming on strong New York Yankees. We're still in 4th place. They lost 3 in a row, but they're 24-28. They were previously in last place in the AL East, but now they're in 4th place, trying to catch up to the Toronto Blue Jays for 3rd place.
Yeah, I think it shows you how tougher it is in that division than it would be here. But for instance, like you mentioned, the Yankees' record, I think that would give them a slightly better record than the Tigers here in the AL Central. But nonetheless, you're dealt the hand you're dealt with in terms of what division you play in. But nonetheless, I see that Yankee game being a toss-up with the primary focus concern being what can the Tigers do in that 3-game set against the White Sox.
And then the White Sox were at first in first place in the American League Central. They were rolling, but now they have digressed. And look at as you look at them, they're in 2nd place, 29-25, 2 games back of the Kansas City Royals, who are 30-22. The Royals have won 6 straight. The White Sox have won their last 2, but their slump has carried the White Sox down to 2nd place. The Indians were in first place at one point, but now they're back in 3rd place, 2.5 games back at 27-24. They're coming off a win, but the Indians were red hot as of late, but it's just becoming closer and closer. The Royals are the latest red hot team in the AL Central right now. And then the Blue Jays on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The White Sox middle game is at 4:10. Let's see who starts this one here.
The middle game against the White Sox?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
I'm looking at ESPN. It has Pelfrey and Chris Sale as the listed pitching matchup.
Chris Sale's had the Tigers' number.
Yeah, I mean, well,
but the last time he faced the Tigers, he gave up like 5 runs last year. Yeah, Sale is 9-1. He is like one of the best pitchers this year in baseball. 9-1 with a 2.29 ERA. He earned those 9 wins, but he's coming off a loss.
Yeah, but I think that's it's gonna be a tough matchup because you're not only facing Chris Sale, who's done great so far. You're facing a Chris Sale who, even though it was a loss, he still gave up only 2 runs in 7 innings of work with 7 strikeouts. So again, this is a Chris Sale that's going to have a lot to prove. It's going to be a tough matchup. Not to mention the fact that you already have Pelfrey in there, so you're going to have your work cut out on that one. I feel more confident in the first and third games, simply based on the fact that Zimmerman and Verlander are starting those respectively, and it's at home.
Justin Verlander is going up against Jose Quintana. Verlander, I believe, pitched a shutout in his last start.
He had 7 scoreless innings against Anaheim. Unfortunately, the bullpen blew it for him in the 8th.
Oh, yeah. That was right.
The loss.
I was talking about the start before that, but yeah, Verlander dropped to 4 and 5 on that one. He was solid until that 8th inning. His ERA is now 4.11, but he returns home against Jose Quintana. Quintana, as of late, has had a 2.13 ERA despite his 5-5 record.
So that could speak to an issue of whether or not Quintana is getting proper run support.
Yep. So before we move on, a couple updates. Relief pitcher Jose Valdez designated for assignment. Relief pitcher Bobby Parnell summoned from the AAA Toledo Mud Hens. I think Ausmus is getting a little bit of extra bullpen help. Anibal Sanchez, because of his absolute sluggishness, has been sent to the bullpen. No decision on whom to take the spot. That's one of our 5 questions at the end of the episode here. But I'm thinking Shane Green should take a spot, but we'll save it. Francisco Rodriguez, I think we mentioned already, but he revealed he had a Zika virus in Venezuela during the previous off season, but he picked up his 15th save, just allowing 1 base runner and getting the next 3 batters out to end the game. Mike Oxlong.
Now,
yep.
I was going to say Rodriguez. He now has at least 10 or so consecutive saves to go about making up his 15 total for the year so far.
He has only 1 blown save, that was his first save attempt in Miami. So that is 15 consecutive.
So he's showing great early consistency so far this season. Good on him.
Yeah, the 1 run he gave up in Oakland on Friday night was in a non-save situation when the Tigers had a 4-0 lead on Friday in one of Michael Fulmer's stellar performances. So there's that. Mike Oxlong said Matt Boyd may take Anibal Sanchez's spot, but Boyd is pitching. Well, first it was Sanchez, and then it was Fulmer, and now it's Boyd at home against the Yankees. So Boyd's possibly not going to replace him, Mike Oxlong, just to do some starting pitching rotation order research and point out the truth for you. So I might as well guess Shane Green to answer one of our 5 questions ahead of time, but again, we'll save it. that's all the time. That's all the Tigers are. That's all the Tigers material that we have covered for this episode of the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker. Let's move on to a quick Lions update.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Lions tight end Tim Wright has cleared waivers after being placed on waivers for an injury designation, but now since he has cleared waivers, he has been placed on the season-ending injured reserve with his torn ACL. So the Lions are going to have to find a new tight end.
Well, they appear to have already done that. Michael Rothstein pointed out the other day on Tuesday, that the Lions signed tight end Ben McCord to a deal. He is an undrafted free agent from Central Michigan. I've read the Michael Rothstein on that from ESPN, which is much needed because in addition to Wright's injury, Brandon Pettigrew has a knee injury. He's not going to be doing anything for the spring. And now, apparently, Eric Ebron missed last week's Open to the Media OTA with an undisclosed injury of himself. So, yeah, the Lions definitely need some bodies at tight end. So, this is the bit of an emergency signing, but a much-needed signing.
Yeah, I believe so. So with that out of the way, we're going to talk a little bit of Red Wings here. First off, Pavel Datsyuk was contemplating lately signing a 2-year deal with the Russia KHL's SAK St. Petersburg hockey team. It was reported, there was a false report like a week ago that, like a week or two ago, that he did in fact sign that 2-year deal with with SKA St. Petersburg of the KHL in Russia, but his agent denied it because he didn't speak to anybody in the media. But now the new report, the latest report about Pavel Datsyuk, is that he is contemplating signing that deal, and from what I've heard about it, it is becoming more inevitable that he's going to go back to his home country in Russia and to see his daughter and play hockey in Russia. So I believe that expected decision will come sometime between June 3rd and June 15th. So it's just a matter of time until he makes his decision that he will in fact decide to return home to Russia, to his home in Russia, see his daughter, and play in the KHL with SAK St. Petersburg. Secondly, I heard earlier from Pro Hockey Talk at nhl.nbcsports.com that the Red Wings are going to try to move forward without Jimmy Howard. It headlines, Red Wings look to the future in net possibly without Howard. With a short pitch, could Detroit's duo eventually be Peter Mrazek and Jared Coro? Which means Jared Coro was one of the goaltenders from the Grand Rapids Griffins. I believe he was behind Tomas McCollum until recently, the previous season, when the Griffins were through the Griffins elimination by the Lake Erie Monsters in 5 games, or 6 games, I think. But anyway, Jimmy Howard's deal has a $5.29 million cap hit through the 2018-2019 season, the second season ever at the new Little Caesars Arena. The third paragraph says it looks pretty tough to stomach on paper. That article is written by James O'Brien on May 30th of 2016 at 3:26 p.m. Eastern Time. The Detroit Free Press points out that General Manager Ken Holland admitted that moving the former franchise net minor might be, quote unquote, might be good for the organization. And then the Free Press focuses on their confidence with prospect Jared Corral. So there were two links to the same Free Press article. As I go to this real quick. Yep, Jimmy Coward right there. Thank you, Mike Oxlong. This Free Press article on Jared Corral was written by Helen St. James on May 29th at 4:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Third paragraph, without Howard. First paragraph, rather, down the road, the Red Wings figure they have a solution in Jared Corral. Sorting out the goaltending question is a top priority this summer, especially re-signing Mrazek, who is a restricted free agent, and trading Jimmy Howard. GM Ken Holland acknowledged, said again, it might be good for the organization, quote unquote, because otherwise the Wings would be in a scenario where they have around $10 million committed to goaltending.
It's definitely a bit unreasonable unless you're paying for like one of the top tier goalies as an unrestricted free agent. You don't lock up that much money in today's cap and space NHL strictly to the goaltending. So yeah, it'd be very smart. And like I said, I think you and I have alluded to it before, Taylor. Jimmy just needs a new start somewhere else. He had a great run in Detroit, but it just hasn't worked out as well as it should. And with the emergence of Mrazek starting last year, I think it became clearly evident and inevitable that something like this was going to happen. So, I think it will work out for all parties involved, especially Jimmy's, and especially for Detroit, because it frees up some of that money that you might would have used, possibly to help pay for Mrazek's new contract. So it's a win-win either way.
See the third paragraph says without Howard, the Wings would need a veteran backup for the coming season. A veteran backup, she said. But beyond that, the team's resident goalie development coach, now Jeff Salaja or something like that. I forgot his name.
Yeah, I would have.
Oh wait, that's Salico.
Yeah, Selico from Grand Rapids, correct? So if the fact that you're bringing him up as well as this other goaltender, I don't think you don't necessarily need to bring in a veteran. You have your experience with the built-in trust from two of your pieces of this supposed puzzle now, both from Grand Rapids from your developmental system.
Yeah, especially Jared Corral.
Yeah, of course. So pair that with the emergence of the rising young talent that is Mrazek, I think we'll be okay. Now, if you want to find a veteran that won't cost you a pretty penny, then by all means. But other than that, I would still say you're as close to good as possible at the goaltender spot as is, especially if you get this Howard deal done.
Yeah, just got to find some way, because and as for Coro, it's time for him to step up in Detroit, because it's time for the new blood for more new blood to start kicking in the major leagues, if you know what I mean, in the pros.
Yeah, absolutely. We're already seeing it on the front lines with our young players, young forwards and wings and whatnot. Now we're seeing it more with the goaltenders. All that's left now is to see it transpire more with the defensemen.
Also, the Red Wings have re-signed Tomas Nosek to a 2-year, $1.225 million contract. This just came to me from my memory. But also, the update I had on my script, the Toronto Maple Leafs owe their compensatory 2017 third-round draft pick to the Red Wings or the New Jersey Devils, but are still expected to hold on to it. We'll see what happens in the near future. The Score mobile app says the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to forfeit it, but Bleacher Report says they're going to the Leafs are expected to hold on to it. Which is going to happen here?
Well, some course of action has to be taken here. Either you have to deal with the hand you're dealt with, or just give up the pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the Red Wings could actually take it if it comes to them. We just take what we get.
Who knows? Maybe you find yourself an actual good defenseman.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the NHL, the Pittsburgh Penguins have a 2-0 series lead in the Stanley Cup Final. They won 3-2 on Monday. They just won 2-1 in overtime earlier tonight to take a 2-0 series lead. Game 3 is not until Saturday at 8 p.m. on NBCSN. Game 4 is Monday at 8 at the SAP Center in San Jose. And game 1 of the NBA Finals, just a quick reminder, is at 9 on ABC. The rematch between the NBA champion Golden State Warriors and the back-to-back Eastern Conference champion Cleveland Cavaliers. Who do you think will win this one?
I don't know. On paper, you would probably say Golden State. But I keep thinking of the fact that LeBron James, what he did last year with the team that he had, which without Kevin Love, after essentially getting armbarred by Kelly Olynyk in the first round, caused him to miss the rest of the season. Then the fact that Kyrie Irving was already on 50 to 60, 70% whatsoever, he injured his patella and his kneecap in Game 1 of the Finals, even though he had a strong outing. He missed the rest of the series, so essentially forced LeBron to carry the weight of the whole team on his shoulders, and he got little to minimal help. I think you could argue that the second best performing player for LeBron, besides LeBron in that Cavs series for the Finals, was Matthew Dellavedova of all people. Timothy Mozgov with his rebounding and offensive explosiveness, but you didn't see J.R. Smith hitting shots. Iman Shumpert wasn't hitting shots. As much help as Cleveland could have had with Mozgov and Thompson at the boards, they still needed good shooting to contend with Golden State's deadly sharp shooting. And no Kyrie Irving and no Kevin Love, they just won't get that done. Now, what you see, you have LeBron with a healthy Kyrie, with a healthy Kevin Love, that's going to take pressure, give him a chance to rest up in certain spots, and then when it's time, try to do his best to take over in the fourth. Not to mention, you're seeing a development, a resurgence, a resurrection of sorts from Channing Frye, a stretch five who can hit threes. Are you kidding me? And now other guys stepping up contributing. You can also see less pressure off J.R. Smith to try to hit, big shots. I mean, clearly, you don't need to tell J.R. Smith to hit a three. You saw what he did against the Pistons, almost routine basis in that series. So, you factor in those things, plus I think the pure motivation that LeBron will do his absolute damnedest to want to bring a title to Cleveland. As motivated as Golden State would want to prove that their title this year is that the title last year was no fluke, because you got to remember now they missed out on playing the Spurs. They also had a chance of playing teams that had injured starting point guards. Most importantly, Cleveland in the finals. So they've been on a quest to validate that. They've done a great job so far. got Coach of the Year honors for Steve Kerr, got a back-to-back, and this time a unanimous MVP for Steph Curry, and of course the record 73-win season in the regular season. And now granted, you have to wonder how much they have left in them, capping off this mammoth comeback against Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Final, being down 3-1 to win 3 straight. You have to wonder how much energy do they have left in them, and then really how much does Steph Curry have? You have to wonder how healthy is his knee, because that's been an issue that's been dogging him, so to speak, in this playoffs, and you saw him grab it during that Game 7. How healthy is Steph? We shall see. I think it's going to come down to, can Kevin Love be as much of a good enough threat defensively as he certainly is offensively?
I think he might.
And can Cleveland do it, making sure that they aren't as outshot or outlit up, so to speak, from 3, the way Oklahoma City was, because Golden State was plus 86 from 3 from downtown in that series. If Cleveland can keep that to a relative number, let's say, plus 20, plus 30, maybe plus 40, you'll have a shot. But it's going to come down to Cleveland has to take advantage of the fact that they have bigger presence on the boards. You can utilize that with Tristan Thompson, and I think they should utilize just a little bit more Timothy Mozgov off the paint. Of course, LeBron, being the freak of nature, athletic talent that he is, he's going to get his boards as well, not to mention his ability to drive to the basket on offense, which either lay it up or use it to kick it out to a shooter. And this time, instead of trying to kick it out to J.R. Smith or Ahmad Shumpert, this year, you can either kick it out to Kyrie, kick it out to Kevin Love, kick it out to J.R., or kick it out to Channing Frye. So it's going to come down to, it's going to be a hard-fought series. In the end, I think the winner of this series will be the Cleveland Cavaliers. And how many games? My head says 7, but hard, since I do genuinely like LeBron James, and I'll admit I am rooting for him to win this NBA Finals. Heart would say Cleveland gets it done in 6 at home.
Oh, Cleveland in 6, huh?
Yep. I think it will be seen by an upset, according to Vegas. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Cavs in 6.
Cavaliers have never won an NBA title. This would be their first right there. So, yeah, I think I might have to agree with you on that one too. So, we have one more team, actually two more teams in a university in our state to cover.
Touchdown, Michigan!
And we're going to get to the football thing in a minute, but the Michigan softball team over the previous weekend swept the Missouri Tigers 5-3 and came back to win 5-4 in Game 2 to win the best of 3 in regionals to move on to the first round of the College World Series and play 10-seeded LSU Thursday at 9:30 p.m. on ESPN2. Not a football. The Wolverines quarterback Alex Malzone was arrested and charged with altering a driver's license, and that can't be good for the Michigan Wolverines football program and Jim Harbaugh, Ed.
No, that's you definitely got to set an example with that one. If it means he could be potentially being dismissed from the team, so be it. It's called actions have their consequences. This could be a potential consequence. And congrats, by the way, to the softball team, because I remember they've been making waves of being perennial contenders in the softball field. Like I remember, around 2005 or so, at least I can remember as far back to that, with them winning a College World Series title in that regard. And they were just the national runner-up last year. So I think they have a good shot as any team out there, especially now with Florida eliminated. They also have the consensus National Collegiate Player of the Year in Sierra Romero, who has NCAA career records for runs for 300, and here's this one: grand slams with 11. So, so the second baseman for the Wolverines will be the player to watch for. See if she, along with her teammates, can bring home another collegiate national title, no matter the variety, another championship to Ann Arbor.
Yep. So, with that out of the way, all those 5 questions are going to be all about the Tigers. Are you ready for them?
Ready when you are, Taylor, so let them rip, my friend.
It's time for 5 questions with Taylor the Gator Phillips.
Question number 1. Should the Tigers have sent Anibal Sanchez down to Toledo for a conditioning stint instead of putting him into the bullpen?
I could see that being an option on one end. On the other, I feel as though the Tigers saying, listen, if we do the amount of money that we have signed to you, Anibal, and the amount that we're paying you on a yearly salary, it would kind of look bad from a image or a PR perspective, like, while we're paying you all this money, you still got to be sent down to Toledo. So I think that was probably one option, but they're going to try this option first, get him out of the rotation for a little bit, see if he can get his stuff right or whatever. Now, if his problems continue to persist, I think they would have no question but to consider the possibility of sending him down to the minors to do whatever the case may be. They're just going to outright cut him. Not with that amount, not with that contract, not with the money they're paying him. They're going to exhaust every
$80 million.
possible. Yeah, if you're paying a guy $80 million, if I was paying somebody that amount of money, I'd do whatever I can, exhaust every option as possible to make sure he was as adequate as need be for my team. So yeah, you could have gone wrong either way, but I think they did the smart choice trying this option first with the bullpen route potentially.
Next question.
Question number 2. Did Ian Kinsler's error Sunday afternoon cost Mike Pelfrey what would have been his first win of the season?
You hate to pinpoint and scapegoat what particular play in some instances, but in this case, I would have to say, unfortunately, yes, because the way, you know how it is in baseball, it's a funny game where all it takes is one minute break for everything to come together and could snowball into a massive rally of sorts, and that's the case what happened here with this error from Kinsler. So, as much as I hate to say it, yeah, it's looking like that happened, but I still think Pelfrey, he'll get his stuff right. Who knows? Maybe he'll surprise us all and win his very next start. Not counting out yet, Mike.
Damn it!
Next question.
I have to agree there. Question number 3. Is Matt Boyd good enough to stay in the starting rotation since Anibal Sanchez is sent down to the bullpen?
Well, it's something we'll have to see. Personally, I was thinking as soon as, because I don't think he's on the DL right now, but he's still in the minors. Maybe they'll use this as a chance to possibly expedite Daniel Norris's stint in the minors with this news of Sanchez. So to compensate for that, maybe they'll bring Norris back up from the minors. But if not, then I guess go with option B, go with Matt Boyd, see what the youngster can do. He could be adequate. He surely can't be worse than what Sanchez is right now. I mean, his last start, he only gave up 3 runs and had 7 strikeouts and 5 innings of work with a 1.2 WHIP. So, he could be, one of the guys that will give you okay starts from the bottom part of the starting rotation. And I think, like I said, it couldn't be any worse than what Sanchez is giving you right now with the amount of money that you're paying him.
What about option C? A bonus question. Shane Green coming back soon.
Yeah. As soon as I wouldn't mind giving Green a shot. Just unfortunately he's on the DL right now. So once he comes off that disabled list, yeah, all's fair game in my view.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Next question.
Question number 4. How can Jordan Zimmerman do in his return Friday against the Chicago White Sox at Comerica Park?
Give me some good innings. Give me 4, 5, at least 6 innings, because coming off of a groin injury, you don't want him doing too much, depending on him winding up, stretching out, do all that type of stuff. So give me 4, 5, 6 good innings, 1 or 2 runs allowed at maybe 3 runs allowed at most. I would consider that a quality start from Zimmerman, again, as he's coming back from his injury. You don't know what to expect. So you want to be on the optimistic side and say, okay, give me 4, 5, 6 innings, good work. 1 or 2, maybe 3 runs allowed at most. I still say that's a quality start from him and a winnable game that the Tigers bats just need to come through in the clutch for. That's all.
Next question.
And finally, question number 5, an interesting one. Can Cameron Maybin get enough votes to enter the 2016 MLB All-Star Game?
That one, I don't think so, because I think it's going to be loaded from the outfield standpoint for the American League. I mean, alone for Mike Trout, not to mention what we could see from J.D. Martinez and Wright. There's going to be so many people vying for just get those starter spots and those reserve spots in the outfield for the American League. I just don't see Cameron Maybin being one of those lucky few chosen. He's had a good stretch, since coming in, but like I said, I don't expect that to last long. So you make the most of what you can out of that, but I don't think it'll be enough for him to garner him a reserve spot or of any kind in this year's All-Star game. Not against him personally. It's just I don't see that as being likely.
Well, he still has a .429 average and a .992 OPS. It's still; those are still very high.
Very strong. It props to him for sure.
Yeah. So for all the listeners and fans out there, if you want to answer those questions, just replay the episode and answer them in the comment bank below this episode as best you can. Another reminder, please share this podcast on all social media networks, and thanks very much, and please keep it clean. That wraps up episode 214 of the Michigan Sports Truth. Ed, thanks so much again for your help. I'll talk to you again on episode 215. Since we were a week and a half away from our previous episode, why don't we take it another week and a half to a week from Sunday or Monday for episode 215? Just to be fair.
I think that seems fine. Seems fine by me. We just have to come across which one of those days would be best for us. But I got no problems with that. Like I said, with the way this baseball season is going, would rather have your reviews be on a weekly basis as opposed to day to day, because with how you never know how quickly things could change at a moment's notice.
All right, Ed. Thanks a lot. Thanks again a lot for your help. I will talk to you
My
a week.
pleasure.
Yep, a week and a half from now.
Yep. Take care, Taylor. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. And for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. If there's anything you fans want more of or less of on our podcast, please let us know. Follow Ed Smith on Twitter at EdSmith313. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips with 2 L's. Talk to you again on episode 215. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Bon appétit.